Hi, my name is Lo, and welcome to the Romance Seriously podcast, where I take a serious look at romantic movies. Today's movie is 2023's A Tourist's Guide to Love, starring Rachel Lee Cook and Scott Lee. Cook stars as Amanda Riley, an Angelino who works for Tourista World Travels, saving old people who end up on the wrong booze cruise. Which must be expensive as shit, because I'm going on a $3,400 trip to Italy in 2 weeks, and if I miss the bus, I'm SOL and have to get my ass to Florence on my own. Her company is looking to expand into a new market, Vietnam. It's an up-and-coming travel hotspot, but they don't have any services on the ground. Yet. A local tour company, Saigon Silver Star, is thinking about selling. Amanda's boss, Mona, wants to send her as a secret shopper to see if it's worth buying, but suspects Amanda will be too busy. Her long-term boyfriend called the office to make sure she won't be working late. Nudge, nudge, wink, wink. She even books Amanda an emergency manicure to better show off the inevitable ring. Amanda lets herself get swept up in the idea of getting married, especially as her boyfriend, John, has been focusing a lot on work. She's thrilled that her relationship is finally moving forward, and her life is getting back on track. Unfortunately, her boyfriend is not proposing, and after comparing them to a reliable car, tells Amanda he's moving to Ohio. Adding insult to injury, he then suggests going on a relationship hiatus. The next day, Amanda is back in the office and utterly furious. Mona decides to use her rage by sending her to Vietnam undercover, complete with a dream itinerary for the perfect 5-star tour. Plus, the trip falls over Tet, better known as the Vietnamese New Year. Amanda decides to take the opportunity to do something worthwhile with her job and have a New Year, New Me moment. On the ground in Vietnam, she has a bit of a kerfuffle trying to find the baggage claim through the language barrier, but, as luck would have it, the handsome man she attempts to ask for directions is none other than Sin Tak, played by Lee, her tour guide. Unfortunately, that's where Amanda's luck runs out, as her suitcase has gotten lost. She deflects Sin's offer of locating her suitcase via a guy who knows a guy in favor of the airline's lost baggage counter, but is unsurprisingly blown off. The two get picked up by Sin's cousin An, whose father owns Saigon Silver Star. An's aesthetic is bubblegum pink from head to toe, and I love it. Amanda eyes a competitor's tour bus, but Sin dismisses them and reassures her that she, unlike them, will get to see the real Vietnam. After a drive so Amanda, and the audience, can take in Ho Chi Minh City, she gets settled into her hotel room. She tries again to ask about the itinerary, but Sin tells her to relax. He sets the schedule so she doesn't have to do any homework on her vacation. Sin asks if there's anything Amanda needs before her suitcase arrives, which she is taking as a very doubtful if, but she's got the essentials in her carry-on. She was a Girl Scout after all. Sin and Amanda banter a bit about the superior Girl Scout cookie, Samoa's or Thin Mints. The answer is Thin Mints, BT dubs, and Sin reveals he spent a lot of his childhood in the US. Later that night, Amanda turns up fashionably late for the tour meet and greet. Despite Sin's warnings earlier, she ended up taking a nap and woke up so out of it that she forgot her own name. Sin cutely reminds her of it before showing her to the others in the group. The roster includes a lesbian couple, Sam and Dom, and their phone-addicted daughter Robin, Alex, a dude who wants to vlog his gap year, and a retired British couple, the Conways, on a very belated honeymoon. Amanda is asked why she's in Vietnam, and she tries to brush it off as overwork, but Sam correctly pings that she just got dumped, something that Sin looks very interested in. And now that work has come up, Amanda deflects talking about her job, because the answer of, I'm evaluating whether my corporate tour chain wants to buy Saigon Silver Star probably would make things a skosh awkward, by suggesting that they don't talk about work and guess everyone's job at the end. Sin seems to be a little suspicious of Amanda, but jokes that she can't talk about work as she's actually an assassin, a spy, or a stylish fugitive. She plays it off, but his quip that in the end the truth will come out clearly hits a nerve. The next morning, Amanda fills Mona in on the situation. Mona, being a girl's girl, immediately picks up on how much he's talking about Sin and asks the important question, is he yummy? Because she needs a rebound and a vacation is the perfect time. Amanda does concede that Sin is hot, but given that his family owns Saigon Silver Star, she doesn't feel right having a fling with him, even if he did get her suitcase back. On a motorbike tour of Ho Chi Minh City, wherein Sin has conveniently partnered himself up with Amanda, he asks her for the real reason she's in Vietnam. She says that she used to travel a lot for work, but lately has been chained to her desk. She mentions that she's been doing some research on Thet, but Sin tells her to put away the guidebook. Those are for tourists, and she's a traveler. When Amanda asks what the difference is, Sin explains that tourists want to escape life, but travelers want to experience it. Making that point, Sin takes the group to a marketplace where all sorts of local goodies are for sale. Art, jewelry, food, including durian, which Amanda tries and learns is actually delicious even though it smells vile. She later finds a scarf with a phoenix pattern, but when she goes to pay, Sin swoops in and gives her a hands-on lesson in bargaining, Vietnamese style. Notably, he and An didn't do that for anyone else, which might have been to their benefit because they overpaid, but the seller doesn't fall for the fake walkaway and Amanda doesn't get her scarf. She gets slightly separated from the group and ends up having to cross the street alone, which sounds ridiculous, except it's Vietnam and saying that crosswalks and pedestrian right-of-way are more like guidelines would be a dramatic overstatement. Sin guides her across the street, and it's honestly adorable. He holds her hand up like someone escorting a princess. When she thanks him, saying that she could never have done that by herself, and girl, same, he asks if she always sells herself short. When Amanda protests, framing it as knowing her limits, Sin merely tells her not to limit herself. The tour group next heads out of Ho Chi Minh City and to the coastal city of Hoi An. Mona has sent Amanda a list of tour sites to see there, but Sin again pushes back. Not only is it not physically possible to see everything on the list, but as a tour guide, he knows traveling. Vietnam is a hot, crowded country where it's easy to burn out, and Saigon Silver Star prefers to offer a more relaxed, go-with-the-flow experience. When Sin asks Amanda if she ever does anything impulsive or goes with the moment, she just tells him that the last time she did that, someone moved to Ohio. The next day, the temple the group was supposed to see is closed in preparation for Thet, but Sin knows a guy, and they're able to watch the rehearsals for the lion dancing, though Sin is more interested in watching Amanda. Later, Amanda and Sin continue to explore, with Amanda telling Sin that he's great at his job, and privately noting how important good connections are in Vietnamese tourism. Later on, the whole group gets new clothing made custom. It's not as crazy as it sounds. Bespoke clothing is relatively cheap in Vietnam. Amanda tries to pass, but Sin tells her that new clothing is a tradition on Thet, a new start for a new year, and picks out something for her that even An agrees with is gorgeous. As the group prepares to go to the hotel before dinner, John calls unexpectedly. Amanda is clearly flustered, but becomes even more so when Sin tells her he has a different plan for the two of them. She rejects the call and goes with Sin down a very creepy alley to a local street covered in lanterns. They chat, and Sin tells Amanda that his mom wanted him to work a corporate job in the U.S., but he came back after college to work at his dad's restaurant. And then 5 years ago, his uncle needed some help, so he joined the tour company. He also explains his love of tourism. He gets to show the best of his country to the rest of the world. After, Sin takes Amanda to a dock, where they each make a wish on a lantern before floating them on the water. Sin asks Amanda what she wished for, but she reminds him that if you tell someone your wish, it won't come true. She turns the question back on him, but he says the same thing. It's pretty clear what they both wished for, even without the shot of their lanterns floating side by side. The next day, the group is lounging on a beach in Da Nang. The adults watch as Robin and Alex do some light flirting over the best way to take a selfie. Amanda uses the advice to make a hashtag New Year, New Me post, but her attention is quickly grabbed by Sin, channeling his inner Daniel Craig, channeling Honey Rider, and yes, correct response. Damn. He convinces her to go out in a basket boat with him, which is a pretty easy sell. For a dripping wet Sin, I'd have robbed a bank. At minimum. They end up falling out, but winding up in the ocean with a gorgeous person isn't really a problem. John commenting on Amanda's tweet, like nothing happened though, is. More bad news hits when they find out there's a 3-hour wait for the Golden Hand Bridge, but Sin improvises a new destination and takes them to the Mi Son Sanctuary, Hindu ruins over a millennia old. The age and beauty stirs Amanda, and she tells Sin, who, surprise, surprise, is focusing all his attention on her again, that she wants more things like this, off the beaten path instead of the hit swarming with other people. Taking her request to heart, Sin takes the group on a secret detour, which lets Amanda, and us, see some of Vietnam's beautiful, sprawling countryside. The secret detour turns out to be the cousins' family village. As a firm reminder that grandmas are universal, Sin and An's Banoy gets to work nagging Sin to visit more, praising An for watching The Bachelor with her, and immediately noticing that Sin has a thing for the American girl who tries to speak Vietnamese via app. Banoy also offers to let Google Translate girls stay with her, which Amanda correctly guesses is both an honor and a test. Later that night, Amanda listens to a voicemail John left for her, but doesn't bother finishing when Sin comes over to chat. They banter back and forth, with Amanda confirming that yes, she is absolutely scared of Banoy, which is logical, always fear grandmas. The next morning, the tour group takes part in the village preparations for Tet, making food, setting up decorations, and cleaning under the watchful gaze of Banoy. At a family grave, Amanda, whose presence alone says quite a bit, confides that Banoy reminds her of her own grandmother who died 2 years ago. Sin suggests that she suggest her grandmother a message, and the solemn ritual of the incense sticks and burnt offerings strikes a chord in Amanda. Later, Amanda and Sin are sent to the market with Banoy's shopping list. Amanda is mildly freaked when she realizes they'll be taking a motorbike, but Sin just smirks and tells her to hold on, tiger. They enjoy a drive through the country, but at the market things take a turn. Sin tells Amanda that his uncle is retiring and he's hoping to take over the business and turn Saigon Silver Star in a different direction, one that focuses more on off-the-beaten path and showing the world a different side of Vietnam. Amanda is obviously very uncomfortable, but is able to genuinely tell him she's having the time of her life. That night, Amanda is continuing to evaluate the tour, but specifically notes that Sin is the heart of it. She's interrupted by An and Banoy, who want to talk to her. Using An as a translator, Banoy asks Amanda what her intentions are towards Sin. Amanda tries to claim that she only wants to be friends, but, given how happy they are around each other, Banoy doesn't believe her. Neither does An. Hell, neither does Amanda, but between the location differences and the whole my company wants to buy yours thing, it's too complicated for her to think about. An lets slip that her father is thinking of selling Saigon Silver Star, but Sin doesn't know yet. She plans to tell him after the tour ends, not wanting that to hang over Tet. She also lets Amanda know that, according to Vietnamese tradition, the first person to knock on your door on Tet will foretell your future for the next year. As Tet dawns, Mona texts Amanda asking A, if she's still alive, and B, should they make an offer. Amanda ignores the texts, not least because Sin has appeared. He claims to be here for Banoy, but come on. The group prepares for a feast, with Robin asking Alex who he's been constantly live-streaming for. It turns out his grandpa always wanted to see Vietnam, but never had the chance, so Alex has been letting him and his retirement home friends tag along virtually. Aww. Amanda appears in the ao dai Sin picked out for her, and the poor man almost swallows his tongue at how stunning she looks. The group has a fabulous Tet, eating the delicious food and dancing through the night. Sin and Amanda go for a walk through the village. Amanda prepares to tell Sin the truth, but when Sin asks if the thing she needs to say is "kiss me," she immediately changes paths. And I don't blame her. Handsome men wanting to make out with you will distract almost anyone from almost anything. The next day, the group prepares to head to Hanoi. Amanda bids farewell to Banoy, who invites her to come back and visit again before telling Sin not to screw things up. Amanda erases her previous notes on the tour, saying to change nothing, except have cold water for guests once they get picked up from the airport. Sin announces that they have time to relax before the night's plans, a water puppet show, and that they'll be picking up a new guest. Amanda gets a text from Mona that another company is building on Saigon Silver Star. She voices her immediate approval for the purchase, but is distracted by the new guest, John, who has the audacity to call himself Amanda's boyfriend. When she reminds him, and tells Sin they broke up, he simply says that's why he's in Vietnam, to win Amanda back. Amanda and John go for a walk to hash some things out. John figured out where she was from the beach photo she posted, which had a tote with the company logo in the corner. Creepy. And Amanda says that since she's secret shopping, he can't mention her job. More notably, John seems disappointed with the heat and the more bohemian hotel, while Amanda is relishing the experience. John tries to apologize and begin to convince Amanda to ride off into the sunset, but is at least aware enough to know that she's still pissed at him. Amanda calls Mona to group panic, and while Mona is impressed with John's romantic gesture, Amanda is still wary. And of course, there's Sin. Mona is delighted with the turn of events and is clearly about to grab the popcorn. Amanda weighs the history of comfort of John against Sin, who is exciting and passionate, but also lives in a foreign country, might just be a vacation fling, and will probably be incredibly angry when he realizes her real reason for being in Vietnam. At the puppet show, John is the cringy American tourists that other American tourists try so hard not to be. Amanda tries to talk to Sin, as she is also not happy about her ex showing up, but he's still hurt and pulls away. Afterwards, An gets a call from her father that he has sold Saigon Silver Star to Turista. John, being an absolute douchebag, immediately turns to Amanda and congratulates her. Amanda attempts to play it off, but has no choice but to tell the truth. Sin leaves the group, and when Amanda chases after him, he asks if everything was just business. She tries to tell him that it wasn't, that she wanted to tell him the truth, but he won't hear it and walks away. The next morning, John, continuing to be utterly self-centered, rambles about how fun the previous night was in a condescending way that again makes me embarrassed to be American. He goes on about only doing long distance for a year, then coming back to LA and buying a house, oblivious to the fact that Amanda is still angry and also dumped him. She calls him out on his attitude, but also herself for letting herself get too comfortable in their relationship. They agree that they're not compatible anymore and go their separate ways, their relationship fully buried this time. An and Sin have a heart-to-heart. An apologizes for keeping the sale a secret, confessing that she was scared and was hoping that if she ignored the sale, it would just go away. Sin is still reeling from everything. He was hoping this would be a year of big changes, and instead, everything fell down around him in one go. Amanda is gushing about the tour to Mona, who, on Amanda's recommendation, agrees to keep Sin in charge of the Vietnamese tour operations after the sale. Mona, still asking the important questions, then asks, what's the deal with Sin now that her and John are dead and buried? Amanda doesn't know, but she's going to find out. Except An tells her that he's going to visit his dad, and then gives her a bag Sin left for her, the Phoenix scarf. Amanda isn't deterred, asking if she can get to him before he leaves. An tells her that the bus leaves in half an hour and the departure point is across town. But she is the best driver in Vietnam. The two hop on a motorbike and race to the bus, but when they hit congestion, Amanda has to get off and go on foot. She is so close, but is then confronted with a terrifyingly busy street. 8 lanes of pure chaos. Still, Amanda gathers her courage and wades into the traffic. Again, it sounds ridiculous, but if I was facing that traffic, I'd probably decide that being a crazy cat lady isn't that bad. She apologizes again, thanking Sin for getting her to open up and showing her a new way to live. She also emphasizes that Turista will be Saigon Silver Star's partner, that they bought the company because they like the way Sin does business. Sin jokes about having to pay full price for Amanda's scarf, and then asks what she wished for in Hoi An. When she tells him a happy life, he asks how she'll make that happen. Amanda just says that she knows a guy, and goes in for a kiss, which Sin happily provides. On the whole, I really enjoyed A Tourist's Guide to Love. I do have some small questions, but they're really more nitpicks than anything else. One is Amanda being a travel pro. She works for a travel company. She's supposed to have been doing this for years, but she makes a lot of rookie mistakes. She checks a bag, she ends up falling asleep, and she doesn't come up with a lie for what she does for work. It could be that she's just out of practice, given that she tells Sin that she's been chained to her desk for the last few years, but it feels kind of off. If she spent her entire career traveling before that, why is she so stunned by the experiences she has there? Or was it just a more corporate, shiny version? It's never really explained. Tourist's Guide to Love also firmly solidified my new pet peeve of filmmaking. When you have people making phone calls, but their phones are clearly not on. I don't know why this annoys me so much, except it happened so many times and it's so obvious. Just have the actor call a crew member whose phone is on silent. All you need to do, it takes 10 seconds. But that's really it for complaints. Other than that, A Tourist's Guide to Love is a great time. Starting with our leads, Rachel Lee Cook and Scott Lee. Separately, they're both good. Cook is right at home as the slightly neurotic Amanda, bringing a warmth that allows her to avoid being just another uptight businesswoman in a rom-com. Instead, she has heart, and her desire for control is shown as an outlet and coping mechanism for stress. She accepts the things she cannot control, but keeps everything she can on the tightest leash possible. Lee, meanwhile, is perfect as Sin. He nails Sin's gadfly tendencies, poking just enough fun to get people to loosen up, and his clear passion for and pride in his homeland shine through at every opportunity. But he has a solemn undercurrent that is both respectful of the people around him and himself and his own worth. But while they're good separately, Cook and Lee are fantastic together. The chemistry between them could power a small city. They pop and spark and zing, elevating a fairly by-the-numbers story with fairly mundane dialogue into something electric. I want them to be in 100 movies together, and I will watch every single one. This is not a rom-com where the movie has to convince the audience the leads are in love. All Cook and Lee have to do is stand next to each other, and I fully buy it. Refreshingly, that also applies in-universe. There are so many romances where people deny being into each other for, reasons, but Amanda and Sin click instantly and are delighted to flirt with each other. Even more so, everybody else sees the chemistry and ships it just as hard as we do. Mona, An, Benoit, even John, which is probably why he's such a dick. I'm pretty sure the other tour members saw their relationship as part of the entertainment. It's nice to have a romance where literally everyone is gung-ho for the love. Speaking of John, A Tourist's Guide to Love really shows that the relationship between him and Amanda was broken before the movie even started. This fucker is the embodiment of God grant me the confidence of a mediocre white man. John took a new job across the country without even mentioning it to his girlfriend of 5 years and expects her to just wait for him. Then, when he realizes that, no, she won't just sit around for a year, he throws a fit like a toddler who's upset that someone else is playing with the toy he threw away. When he congratulated her on the Tourista buy, after Amanda asked him not to say anything, it means that A, he thought nuking her new relationship would make her want her old one back, which, no. Or B, he just doesn't pay any attention to her at all. It highlights how Amanda can be a little too comfortable, but John doesn't really think about her as her own person, instead views her like a human security blanket. I have to say, I absolutely love Mona. I want a boss that books me a manicure because she thinks my SO is proposing and wants me to be able to have nice pics. I want a boss who puts me getting a quality rebound fling as more important than work. But mostly, it's really nice to see a fully supportive female friendship and a boss-employee relationship. Mona agrees to keep Saigon Silver Star as is, even though it's not how Tourista usually operates, because she trusts Amanda unquestionably. If Amanda says this is great, then that's good enough for Mona. An isn't as strong a character on her own, but her relationship with Sin is fabulous. Their sibling relationship with the bickering and the snark, but also the vulnerability, adds some good heart to the movie. An also helps reassure the audience that Sin doesn't habitually romance the tourists via her unrelenting support of his relationship with Amanda as something new that makes her cousin happy. Tourist's Guide to Love is definitely shot, I would say beautifully, but that's kind of underselling it. Exquisitely is probably a better word. The opening scene makes LA, a city that has been overshot to the point of utter banality, look exciting and stunning and exotic. I've been to LA, I never want to go back, and yet now I want to see it again. The same goes for Ho Chi Minh City, Hoi An, Da Nang, the countryside, Hanoi. Vietnam looks absolutely magnificent. The movie shows off the traffic, the shops, the architecture, but it doesn't make anything feel overly glossy. It looks fresh and exciting and inviting. A little bit of the grit, a little bit of the rundown, but just makes it seem more genuine rather than some overly pristine version that's not real. Tourist's Guide to Love makes you want to be there, to see these places for yourself. It really strikes a balance between letting the beauty of Vietnam speak for itself and highlighting it. Warm colors and filters, grand sweeping shots. This is polished without being pristine. The Vietnamese Tourism Board definitely got their money's worth. There's also some fantastic use of Gilligan cuts. Amanda throwing out her boyfriend, the bit at the baggage claim. They're not only great for comedy beats, but it lets us cut out dull moments where we already know what's going to happen. We don't need to see the relationship destruction play out. We just need to know that it happens. Not only does this take something that is banal but necessary for the plot and then turn it into a comedy moment, it also helps save runtime for Sin and Amanda cuteness. I have to say, I love the costuming. First, it's nice to see a career woman who isn't stuck in pantsuits and pencil skirts. Instead, Amanda favors flowy dresses with floral patterns. She starts off in clothing dominated by neutrals, but over the course of the movie shifts towards blue, which is both fitting and a bit paradoxical. The pale blues are very feminine, matching with the style of Amanda's clothing, and emblematic of spirituality and wisdom, which fits as the blue comes in when Amanda begins to let go of rigidity and just experience life. Blue is even the exciting nail polish cover Amanda rejects early on in favor of white, when she's still stuck in her box. However, blue is also traditionally associated with calm, stability, and authority, none of which Amanda has throughout the movie. You know who does, and also wears a lot of blue? Sin. His blues run a little darker than Amanda's, more akin to the ocean than the sky, but combined with his steady demeanor, it brings to mind the saying, "still waters run deep," which is Sin in a nutshell. The other dominant color in the clothing palette is red. Red and its variations, including pink, are colors of passion. Love, lust, anger. Most of the times we see Amanda and Sin in red or pink, flirting in Hoi An, on the beach in Da Nang, when they kiss, etc., are times when they're fully indulging in their attraction. It's also the color of the scarf Sin gets for Amanda. Alternatively, the first time we see Amanda in red, she's fuming at her ex and agrees to go to Vietnam partially out of rage. Moreover, Sin and Amanda always look good together. Their outfits either color coordinate or are complementary colors, but they always look like a pair. The best example is probably the owl dyes they wear for Tet. Sin's is a dark red, showing his full embrace of his feelings for Amanda. She is in blue, but a deep one rather than the pale blue she usually favors. It's also embroidered with red flowers, so Amanda has passions of her own, but also proves that Sin paid enough attention to Amanda to pick out something that is not only out of her comfort zone, but still her style after 3 days. That alone is proof that Sin is a god among men and Amanda needs to lock him down ASAP. An is the other character with a really strong visual palette, being all in pink. Like Amanda, she both embodies and defies the typical symbolism. She's girly, bubbly, and bright, the sizzle and spark to Sin's steadiness, emphasized when the cousins stand side by side and their double act as tour guides. Yet she lacks the ditziness and naivete that is usually present in pink-drenched characters. Even Elle Woods was a bit of a genius ditz. Instead, she's grounded and mature, keeping strong ties with her family and pushing Amanda towards Sin because she wants him to be happy. I have to say, I really appreciate the defense of tours. Often, going on a tour group is kind of looked down on as a method of travel, especially when you're younger and you should be going on your own, being like a local, etc. But as someone who is shit at planning vacations, tours are a lifesaver. Plus, a good tour company will strike a balance between the local holes in the wall and the big tourism sites that are usually popular for a reason. The fact is, locals will always know their area better, because they're the locals. They live there. They know where the hidden gems are and can tell you, rather than you having to pray you stumble on one. A tour means I am paying for that expertise and the privilege of having other people do the legwork that I'm not good at anyway, so I just have to enjoy myself. When I went to Paris, I saw the Eiffel Tower, the Louvre, and I climbed the Arc de Triomphe. And everyone should. Those were all breathtaking. But I also had the best meal in the whole city at a tiny little cafe on a street of cafes and dug into the origins of film itself at the Cinémathèque Française, neither of which I would have known about if I tried to do everything on my own. A Tourist's Guide to Love is fun, pure and simple. It's a treat to look at, showcasing Vietnam as a place to consider for your next vacation, as well as being just beautifully made. Add in Cook and Lee's insane chemistry, and it zips along in fizzy delight. Fingers crossed that on my trip abroad, I get half as lucky as Amanda. Thank you so much for listening. Please like, comment, subscribe, review, all those things. Or find me at the Romance Seriously Podcast at gmail.com or romancesrsly on Twitter. See you next time!